Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and I'm finally getting to this. This is a movie that the last 2 weeks now I've tried to watch, and I've kept falling asleep. That's happened a few times. Most of the time when I fall asleep during a movie, I say it's not because it's boring, it's because it's late and I'm tired. This one's been a mixture of both. And it sucks because it's a Boris Karloff film. It's the last one to be released during his lifetime, and one of his last 3 or 4 films, and that is Curse of the Crimson Altar, or released in the U.S. as, I think it was called The Crimson Cult. It came out in 1968, and also stars Christopher Lee. So you would think, Karloff, Lee, it's going to be awesome. I actually have to pull this up because I didn't do it yet. Okay, this one, if you want to say it looks like a bootleg, go right ahead, because I'm pretty sure it is. You can't even make out the print on the back. I mean the bottom, or even the back. It says black and white. The stills are black and white. The film's in color. Even the disc kind of looks like a bootleg. If anyone's heard of Cheesy Flicks, I'm pretty sure it's some sort of bootleg company. It even has a disclaimer saying, we work with the prints we find, so if there's low quality, it's because of the print they got. And this does have 1968, VHS quality, which I don't mind. I like lower quality, original quality stuff. In fact, I was just watching Mad Ron's Previews from Hell. All those Grindhouse trailers are the original shitty quality. I love that. That's why I don't want to see like a 4K release of Chainsaw Massacre. But anyway, I think I've reviewed around or over 20 Karloff films. My favorite actor, my favorite horror icon. Even if I didn't really care for the film, I haven't ranted on him. And I've always said, no matter how little of a role Karloff has, like Cushing, like Price, even like Lee, he treats it like he's trying to win an Oscar. He gives a shit. This film was kind of hard to sit through. It opens up with just the most what the fuck, just weird. We see this sort of cult. We had this woman played by Barbara Steele. Yes, the 60s horror, one of the horror queens of that age. You also have Michael Gough, who's been in Hammer films. Alfred for the first 4 Batman movies. It feels like a dream because of how weird it is. So yeah, Barbara Steele, she's like blue or green, whatever tint the movie is, in some weird dungeon. She's got like the ram horns, like peacock feathers coming off of her. There's a guy who isn't in the best shape, but he's got like a black leather, I don't want to say Speedo because it's not really a Speedo, but underwear, tight underwear. The black leather like cross, like S&M looking suspenders. A black skull cap with antlers coming off of it. And he brands this Constantine looking guy. And essentially the plot is there's this antique dealer, Robert Manning, who's played by Mark Eden. His brother goes missing. I'm guessing that's the Constantine looking guy that gets his chest branded. And because his last known whereabouts was this remote house, the Craxton Lodge at Graymarsh, which is their family's hometown, their ancestral town. It's like this big mansion. So he goes there, but when he goes there, like, he's driving down the road and there's like a woman in like skin colored spandex, so she looks naked. She's running and there's like these cars chasing her. So like he starts chasing her and he tries to like get her in the car to help her. But all these other guys like pull him off, saying like, no, this is part of our party, part of our ritual. And it almost feels, I don't want to say like an Eyes Wide Shut party. It's not, but it is. It's like this party, this a ritual of this woman who was burned at the stake as a witch. And so, but he's invited to stay by this woman named Eve, who's played by Virginia Wetherell. And there he meets the owner of the house, who's played by Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee, it's cool to see him, but it's not like he has a whole lot to do, as with Karloff. And I mean, Karloff, he's in a wheelchair, which I think at this point in his life, he was confined to a wheelchair. He was, I believe, 82 or 83 at the time they filmed this. I mean, that's how old he was when he died. He still gives a performance. He's still, he's still acting like he gives a shit, which I greatly appreciate from Karloff. There's just not a lot for him to do. And he's this historian professor that specializes in like witch trials and stuff like that. Like the best line of the movie is, because they're pretty much in this study, they're talking to the Mark Eden's character, and he says something about like, you'll have to see my collection. And he says, collection of what? And just with that Karloff kind of grin and delivery, he's like devices of torture, and just smiles. And I was like, okay, like Karloff makes it worth it. He's just not in the film that much. And he starts, Mark Eden's character, he has these nightmares with cheap effects, like when he's having a nightmare. A lot of movies have like that kaleidoscope kind of effect. This one is like cheap flames, where he's in the same dungeon with this woman and the antler guy. And okay, the witch was Lavinia Morley, which is Christopher Lee's character's last name, Morley, so he's a descendant of her. The Black Witch of Graymarsh. And so yeah, Karloff is the occult expert. That's what I was looking for. Not really a history professor. And just the rest of the film, this is a movie I had to watch like 6 or 7 times because I kept falling the fuck asleep. This is not a movie to watch when you're already tired at like 5 in the morning. But, it pretty much just ends with, the mansion being consumed by flames, and, I don't even remember if Karloff is present or makes it out, but obviously Christopher Lee perishes, or in the head of the cult itself. It's not a terrible movie. It is very forgetful. I actually haven't seen it since last weekend. I haven't had time to make a video of it. I meant to make one last night. Fell asleep. But, I mean, I didn't really think it was going to be like a Universal or like a Val Lewton or even like a Paramount film that Karloff has done. I knew it was gonna, or even be like of Hammer quality. I think Karloff and Christopher Lee were, and even Goff, which I even forget what Michael Goff's purpose was. I think he's, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. Like an errand boy of the cult or something. I mean, it's nice seeing all these horror icons. Karloff, Lee, Goff. You know, you've got classic Universal. You got at this time like modern Hammer actors. I will say when the film is good and interesting, it is good and interesting. I can't give it that. It does have its lulls, its low points, where it does kind of drag the really weird scenes, like with the cult, the scenes with Barbara Steele herself. They're not terribly interesting, and really the high point of the film is the scene, or the scenes with Karloff, and even Christopher Lee doesn't really bring the Christopher Lee presence to it like he does in Dracula or other ones he's been in. But yeah, I mean, the scenes with Karloff are definitely is where it shines. It's just, it is pretty forgetful. Karloff does give it all, even in his wheelchair. Can I recommend it? You'll have, if you're a Karloff diehard, or you know, even just cheesy, old, low budget films like of this era, sure. I've just seen better. But yeah. Curse of the Crimson Altar, or originally released as The Crimson Cult. It's not that it's bad. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's bad or shitty. It's just less interesting than it lets on. And for me personally, it's really just worth it to see Karloff in like the last role, because I think there's like 3 or 4 films that came out posthumously after this. I think one was Isle of the Snake People, or Snake People, I think it was just called. There's like 3 or 4 films, but yeah, that's pretty much. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, so this isn't that good of a review. I do understand that, but yeah, it says his last and most shocking role, but it came out while he was still alive, and there was 3 or 4 more after it. But for me personally, Lee, Karloff, and Goff did make it more worth it than if they weren't in it, especially Karloff. He still gives a Karloff performance. I gotta give him that. So yeah, Curse of the Crimson Altar. Not terrible, but it's not great either. Just kind of take it or leave it, kind of forgetful. But thank you for watching.